Welcome along, the Big Ideas Show. Today we are talking, is your portfolio king if you're a creative or any service provider? And we are talking to Luke Frake from Space Between. So Luke, why should they tune in? What are we going to hear about today?
So we cover three main topics. We talk about finding the balance between the clients you want to work with and the clients you need to work with to get yourself started up. We talk about a manifesto, the idea of writing what it is you want to do down as early as possible and then coming back to have a look at that. And then we also talk a bit about the culture that you need to kind of make sure that you're on the right track to deliver what it is you want to do. So
good stuff. Right, Big Ideas Show coming up next. Along to today's Big Idea Show. Today I'm joined by Luke Frake.
Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Very good, thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm very good, very excited to have a chat. We've been rambling on lots, haven't we, already?
Yeah.
And now we've got to go, actually we've got to press record and start the camera.
Should have recorded that bit, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
And then,
We'll have to just get you back. We'll get you back. We're only just started, we're already getting you back. So today you are from Space Between. You're a creative web agency.
Yeah.
And today's conversation is around, is portfolio king? So how much should we allow our previous clients, our portfolio, to influence the future work that we get? And within that, how much is our portfolio defining, I guess, the values that we have as a business? I guess any creative service industry, how much do our values defined by our clients' values versus how much should we try and put a stamp of our own values in our work and maybe our choice of clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know, I've just kind of gone blah. There's the summary of it. What's your immediate impression of this idea of is portfolio king?
I mean, this came from the conversation we were having a few weeks ago, wasn't it? When we were talking about how everyone wants to see your portfolio. But really, the work you've done, you know, in what we do, we're creating websites for people, but those websites are defined by the brand. If they want it to look a certain way, we design something that will work very well for their users that still looks in that certain way. And that's the kind of the parameters we work in, which I think that's the really interesting topic here is, so if by limiting the agency to work within your parameters then depicts the future work that you get, you know?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing work in the banking sector, if I'm doing work in children's clothing, the way I do things will attract future brands in that sector more than they will others, you know. They don't go together very, very well. So I think that's really the interesting part, right, is how much should we be limited by a portfolio? Because everyone wants to see it, but sometimes I don't want to show it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Because I guess, and this is something I've always experienced when working, because I used to work for an animation studio, and we'd always get asked, oh, have you done anything like this? Basically wanting to see exactly what they wanted or exactly what we were proposing. But of course, we haven't done everything and every piece is completely unique, but people want to see it, right?
Yeah.
And you're caught in this trap of being defined by what you've already done, whereas they've come to you for something creative that's and also unique to them. Isn't the whole idea of these creative services is we're going to express what you want to say, your brief.
Yeah, that's really good actually. I mean, a lot of the times we get two sides of it. So sometimes I'll work with let's take fashion. Sometimes I'll speak to them in the fashion brand and they're like, oh, have you worked with anyone in our sector before? Yeah, we have. Sometimes it'll be, oh, you've worked with someone in our sector before, or you currently do work with someone in our sector. We don't really want you going and giving them all our ideas. Yeah. And so sometimes I think it's funny because sometimes it can go either way with clients. Some people can be, oh, fantastic, you're doing the same as what we're doing. We want you to do that again. And sometimes it's, actually, we don't want them to know what we're doing. Yeah. And I think that's the interesting part again, right? So how do you break out of that?
It feels like there's 3 points of conversation. We're going to have to pick which one we go for. There's the one is, I guess, something I notice is, brands when they say, oh, you've worked with them, therefore I want to work with you. It's like, what, because you want to do what they're doing? Yeah. And people going, oh, they're doing well and they're doing animals in their adverts, therefore we're going to do animals in our adverts, which is like currently massively going on, right? Yeah. There's the element of what should brands maybe be looking out for when they're choosing providers. And then the third one that I'm also interested in is, as the creative service provider, how can you not be sucked into just your values being what your clients' values are, and maintain your personal values, to say, well, actually, I don't want to work with gambling clients, or, you know, cigarettes or alcohol or anything like that. You know, that's an extreme example, but you know what I mean? Like, what is it that why did I start this agency or this creative service? And am I doing it? Like, I guess expressing your creativity is one side, and offering people a good service, but there's also, okay, but what am I helping them to create? And if those align more, then it feels like everyone wins, because you put that extra kind of emotional energy into it, because you share their commitment. Right?
Let's take that one.
Okay, there we go. We'll go for that one.
I've got an interesting one, actually. So that we kind of did this as well, because I think, so there's only 15 of us at Space Twin. We're still, you know, a relatively small company. But when we started, our first client was a recruitment agency. So HR Go, quite big. They're nationwide. They've got a lot of branches, and we took them on as our first client, which was fantastic, right? We were buzzing, right? We were proper buzzing. This meant they had the opportunity to literally go, leave our jobs, still manage to pay our mortgages, and still be able to start the business that we wanted to start. So we took them on, but then instantly we built this whole thing for them. They had a whole new website, a whole new service, this huge piece of work. And the obvious thing to do then was to go, cool, let's target recruitment agencies. Yeah. We know them really well. We've got a good one on our client book. You know, we've kind of got all the pieces there to go, let's just target the recruitment agency. But it's not what we wanted to do. Yeah. So it was really hard then for us to, because what we actually wanted to do was e-commerce, which is what we're doing now. But to make that transition from being the people who do recruitment to the people who do e-commerce, it was quite difficult. It was quite hard to get people to understand. And because everybody said, can I have a look at your client book? Oh, but you're not selling anything. You're just doing, you know. I think one of the things that we had to do when we were in that situation was trying to bring comparisons of things we've done to how we will do them. Yeah. So one of the interesting ones was we would always say is, but you've not sold anything online. And what we had to explain back was how the journey was in a way was similar. Person comes to website, they want to do something. Yeah. We help them do that as easy as possible. We complete the thing for them. We give them a happy journey, and we kind of send them on their way and we kind of then try and pull them back in. Right. That's kind of the journey. Yeah. Which if you say it like that, you can apply that to most things, right? If you're focused on that as the primary goal, then I think it works. I think that was how we managed to break that cycle. I think maybe, I don't know whether we had it easy or not, you know, I don't know if we were at the, you know, I think there's probably other ways that you could look at that as well, that we were still relatively easy. I guess if you, like you said, if that was your first main client, although it was a big risk and that was your one key piece of portfolio, at the same time you hadn't gone down that route of having 3, 4, 5, and then it's a lot easier or a lot harder, to make that jump and then say, well, why are you suddenly jumping? It could just be you haven't got any examples, rather than everything I see on your portfolio is counter to what you're saying. Well, it kind of was, actually, now I think of it, because so HR Go have like multiple brands under them. Okay. So I remember at one point our portfolio was like 6 clients that were all their clients. Okay. So there's 6 recruitment agencies. That's what you do when you're just trying to build the portfolio at this point. You don't mind what's on it. Yeah. And so it's just that, right? You're just grabbing at kind of whatever you can to say, I'm really passionate and I will do a good job regardless of what my credentials say at the moment. Yeah. And that, you know, you're trying to get people to kind of take that punt on you, right? Yeah. So we did kind of, now I look back on it, we kind of put ourselves in a situation where we probably made it even worse for ourselves, where everybody was going, but there's just loads of recruitment people there. Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's really interesting that you kind of had all these people, and like you said, in that early stage, there is that little bit of, there's that excitement, there's also a tinge of panic, isn't there? With like any of us when we start up our own thing, like, oh my God, was the first one just a fluke, or okay, and keep building it. And where's the balance between being, especially when you're starting out, knowing who you are, or do you have to start doing things in order to know who you are? Like, is it only after you built the portfolio that you go, oh, we built this pattern? Was that conscious, and does it show us, I didn't realise I'm really passionate about this area, but we seem to have built it? Or is it a little bit of the thing of luck and them just piling on top of each other because they relate and they're linked? I think there's probably a bit of both. I think that's a really good question. I think the subconscious probably plays a big part in this. So if I look back at, I can only speak from personal experience, but if I look back at kind of the trajectory we've gone, we always, underneath everything, wanted to do e-commerce as a form of web development over anything else. But it wasn't until we'd already had a few e-commerce clients that we actually said, we do e-commerce.
Okay.
You know, that's our core offering is e-commerce. And it was a kind of, I think it was just a natural tendency to the fact that that's what we liked. So therefore, that was just maybe naturally what we tried a bit harder for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I love, this thing of this idea of how much should we be drawn by what we love versus, you know, it's those circles you get. You see like what you're good at, what people want, and what you get paid for, or whatever the balance is. But I always think what you're passionate about is kind of the most important thing, especially like maybe not 10, 20 years ago, but nowadays, how many niche markets are there that have sprung up? And because it's so much easier to connect with people anywhere in the world, you can get away with going, you know what, I don't care, I like this. And everyone could say, and yes, you may, if you went down this route, have a much more successful, profitable business. But if at the end of the day, that's not what you are in business to achieve, you want a lifestyle business or something that you love, or you feel like you're giving something back, then you've got to go for what you like, right? Otherwise, you might as well be working for someone else if you end up building a business that you hate, or you're trapped in your own business.
I mean, you mentioned lifestyle business, but I think it's for everyone. I think I can't imagine. I mean, you know, how many things have you got on your plate? There's a thing on the wall over here with all the things to do. There's loads, right? I don't know how you fit it all in, but I think because you just have to invest so much. I think if you didn't love it, like truly love it, I don't think you'd be able to do as much. Do you know what I mean? How quickly the time goes, and you go, oh my God, it's the end of the day. I know people that look at it as like, thank God it's the end of the day. And I think I can't imagine working as productively as I do, as passionately as I am, on something that I'm just not passionate about. Like, obviously, but at the same time, that trying to force yourself to be that passionate. And then I think through that, like you envisage and you embody, is that I think by just being that extra passionate, you just do a great job. And I think that's the thing that then people will hopefully get to know. Maybe that's the question here around the portfolio. Is it the portfolio that's important, or is it the referral that comes off of the work? You know, so actually being able to say, I've worked with mamas and papas, is that really good? Or is them saying, Luke and his team did a fantastic job when they did X, Y, and Z for us. Is that maybe that's the more interesting piece? That the work or what you did behind the brand, maybe. Yeah, definitely. Because then that's, I guess, when the brand is saying, these guys did a great job because of X, Y, and Z, this is what they did, they're not saying... They're more likely, anyway, from the testimonies you see, to be saying, you guys were great to work with, this is why you were great, rather than, oh, they knew absolutely everything about the childcare industry or whatever. They're not saying that because they're the experts in that, and you're the experts in the bits that you do, isn't it? But I guess when they're saying it, it's maybe a little bit easier to make that tangible leap, like you said, from, recruitment to e-commerce, for example. Yeah. So, okay. I think this is a good place to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a little bit. Welcome back. We are talking, is portfolio king? Very much around this subject of how much should you define, I guess, where you want your kind of young, new, evolving business to go, and how much, especially we've been talking creative service providers, but I guess this goes back to any service providers, really, where you've got a portfolio, and how much they define your next clients and how much you allow them to, really, in the eyes of your future clients or potential clients. But I want to take it back a little bit and hear, I guess, about... Because it's always nice having stories, isn't it? We've been talking kind of generally about it, to hear your story around kind of your values, and then taking that in terms of how you've then, whether it's been conscious or subconscious, craft your portfolio or your choice of clients. Because at the end of the day, sometimes clients come to us, and sometimes we choose them, whether it's actively pursuing them or sometimes it's a subconscious thing. It's like just how you are and in your being and the events you happen to be at that puts you in front of certain clients. So, what would you say? Why do you do what you do? And what's at the core of it all, really? I'll I'll take this back to actually before we started, and I'll tell you the story of us, I guess. So at Space Between, there's 3 directors. There's myself, there's John, and there's Marcus. And the 3 of us kind of got together. So Marcus and I used to work together at Holiday Extras. We used to work in up in Hythe. And that was fantastic. And we worked together there as web developers. And then John and I met at like a meetup, which is a bit like networking, but for geeky people. So there's no business cards, not allowed. But yeah, we kind of met at one of them. It's kind of like this. Place people come together and share ideas and things like that. So we met together there, and separately, I was talking to both of these people about culture, ideal company culture, how we think people should behave, what type of projects we find interesting to work on. And we were kind of talking, and we were getting quite deep separately. And I was like, guys, like, we need to come together, and we need to have a bit more of a conversation about this. So we went to the pub, as all good stories start. We went to the pub, and we just spoke about it. We had some food. We had some food, a couple of beers, and we were literally just chatting about what type of thing we liked, kind of fleshing it out a bit more. And I think it was kind of the end of that conversation where we realised we kind of had the basis for a company culture, or an agency specifically company culture. We'd spoke about how we want to treat people, the types of projects we want to build. We want to build our own products. We want to build our own things that we can kind of do as well as doing everyone else's. And we want to solve problems. I think that one was at the heart of it, because all 3 of us were developers, geeks, proper geeks, so therefore all 3 of us were just innate problem solvers. And I think that one sentence there has built the basis for everything that we do at the moment. I think I love e-commerce, and the reason I love e-commerce is because there's so many problems. It's so interesting. The buying pattern of a person is really, really cool. I like the fact that before I knew anything about websites, I assumed you went to a website and you made a decision to purchase. Now, although that is at least partly true, I know I can make your mind up a little bit for you. I know if I make a button a different colour, more people will click it. So therefore, I like the psychology that comes behind it. And there's nothing more complicated to solve than people. So that's probably one of the main reasons why I find e-commerce just so interesting. So that's kind of the background really of us. And then that's kind of the underlying culture of us, is that we are problem solvers. So then obviously, like I said before, we had HR go, and then I think it was quite natural that we moved away from just recruitment, and we moved through a couple of other different places, and we always kept on complicated solutions. I think when we started, I used to have this phrase. Maybe said, "Oh, you're web developers," and I'd say, "No, we build complicated websites." And it sounds awful now, but it made so much sense to me at the time, because what I was saying is, we wouldn't do my personal website. If it's a website just for me, we wouldn't do that, but we would do a website that has some function on it, some function that happens, because it's interesting. There's a problem to solve. And I think that's how we probably, where I said earlier, kind of almost, we didn't make the decision that we're doing e-commerce solely until we had got to that point naturally. And I think that's where I was saying about the subconscious plays a part in these things, because we kind of set out these they were really rough kind of thoughts around how we'd want to run things. That's kind of where we ended up. We did do something as well, which I would probably say for anyone who is starting out a business is really, really interesting. There's 2 reasons, right? So we wrote a manifesto. So we wrote, it's probably a 10 to 15 page document.
Okay, a decent size.
The types of clients we want to work with, what problems we solve. And although we started about 3 years ago now, we still use this today. Everyone new gets the manifesto before they start, have a read through it, because it's a really good time for you to know they're not backing it. And it's evolved. It's constantly evolved. We make decisions and we go, great, someone update the manifesto. So if you've said, Luke, I've got this idea, this crazy idea, that sounds fantastic. Let's put it in the manifesto. Let's start doing it. Like, it's almost like the first steps for everything that we do. And I think there's 2 really cool things about it. One, you get to go back and you get to have a look at kind of how different things are. If I look at revision 1 against now, it's changed phenomenally. But 2, you get to see the bits that have remained. I think that's really interesting, because if I look back at what we were like then, I was nothing like I am today. I've learned a lot over the years in the short time that we've been doing it. But it's interesting to see the core beliefs are still there, and they haven't changed. I think that's really, really cool. So I definitely urge anyone that's kind of starting this to do that. It refines who you want to work with by itself. It's great to show to new people, and it's just really, really interesting to look back on kind of how it builds and grows over time.
That's really cool, because so many people talk about mission, vision, values and all those sorts of stuff. And we were talking with Adam Henderson last week, and we were talking very much about that. And he said similar thing to you, that it's good to do those documents if they're actually live working documents. And you've called it a manifesto, but I guess essentially it's the same thing. What's important to you? And I love it. It's great that, and I love as well that you started with, we just were having really interesting conversations that just evolved into something. So from the basis, it wasn't how can we make money, how can we do websites, it was what sort of culture do we want, what are our like values behind it in terms of a company.
Unfortunately for my family, that's never been my objective. I've never been driven by money. I've always been driven by the problems. I always used to say to people that if I was driven by money, I'd be an investment banker, because I'd have a really rubbish life, but I'd earn a really big salary. But instead I have a nice job which I really enjoy, and hopefully one day that'll be great.
Definitely. That's awesome. But it's interesting, I guess, going back to our point about the clients, I'm interested to know kind of how your clients maybe evolved from, and as you did and became, it sounds like you were very clear of your manifesto at the beginning, but I guess, like you say, each time it refines and you do revisions, how your clients change based on that. Because I guess when I think of values or kind of maybe a particular sector that you like, sometimes it's really apparent, whereas I guess with you guys, because it's problem solving, every business has problems of some sort or another. And so with that in mind, with that being in your underlying value, there is no one sector necessarily. Like, for example, if I'm always been interested in sport and interested in motivation and how we motivate and inspire people. So sport is like a natural thing, but that's a very outwardly tangible thing for people to go, oh, you work with lots of sports people. That's obvious. But problem solving isn't something that's necessarily tangibly visible to new clients coming in. And I guess the question is, how has that changed? And how do you communicate problem solving as a value, separate or as part of your portfolio?
I think we're lucky in a way that a lot of our work comes from referrals. So I think a lot of people get passed to us. I think the problem that we've got, in the sense that we do have a very good idea of what we want to work with, I think it's that saying no to the ones that don't fit within that. I think that's something that we're probably all really bad at. Because I think if someone comes along to you and they say, I want to work with you, the budgets look good, the project itself looks interesting, but it doesn't quite fit in with what you do. It's very hard to go, actually, no, I don't think that's for us. I think especially when it's a really interesting problem, which is the thing we get. So we may have clients come along that they've got something that sounds really interesting, we're behind the product, we think it's really, really cool. Do you go, yeah, we will do that. We can do a good job at it, so let's do it. Or do you go kind of, no, not for us. I think that's one of the ones that we're only probably recently getting a little bit better at.
So what sort of things don't fit that? Because you said there's something that's a really interesting problem, but maybe not the quite right sort of problem. How do you differentiate for you and what's right for you guys? So
let me give you an example. So there's certain areas, I think, of this sort of development that we do where people kind of blur the lines quite naturally, because it's quite similar. I think app development and web development is a very good one. I think quite a lot of people, rightly to some respects, assume that they're quite similar. Underneath, they're actually inherently relatively different. In some cases, all different, but you know what I mean. So when we first started up, we had the opportunity, or we were still relatively new, we had the opportunity to take on an app. And we decided, that sounds cool. That sounds great. We think we can do a really good job at it. And in most respects, I would say we did a good job. I don't think we would have done the best job. I think someone probably, if I'm honest, could probably have done a better job than what we did. But mostly down to time. It took us a lot longer than what we thought it was going to take. And that's because we had a lot of learnings, which we didn't build a client. We took that on as us. And so generally it took a lot of extra revisions, a lot of extra going over. And I think that's a really good example for me of an area where I'm now very strict on the fact that we don't work on that. We will work with a partner. We'll get somebody else involved. We can help. We can be a part of it. But at our core, we don't do that because although I know the team can do a great job because we've got a fantastic team, I think there'll be other people out there that are better equipped to do that specific job.
Okay.
So I think that's the hard bit, because the app could solve a really cool problem. It could even be selling things, which then makes it e-commerce. And there are ways that it can be linked so tightly to what we do, but we have to, at the heart of it, look at it and say, like, what's best for our customers and the sanity of everyone on the team.
Yeah, because I guess that's the risk, isn't it? Going back to this problem-solving thing, is that if you love solving problems, and I've noticed myself doing this, if you love solving problems, you kind of go out looking for problems, and you make things harder for yourself, because then you've got something to solve. But I guess you've got to pick your problems, haven't you? You can go, I guess it's the, vertical versus horizontal, in terms of, do you solve lots of problems in a light way but a broad sense of them, or do you go
really deep on
one? We're solving this and then we're going to solve it better and better? And how do you get that balance? How do you choose which problems are right for you?
So personally, I'm terrible at this, so I won't go on to me. But as a company, I would say we're trying to be very focused on the fact that we solve problems for the users when they're trying to buy things online, and that's where we are. So we recently invested in a piece of kit which helps us do that more, and I think things like that are what help people kind of get that steer from everybody else. We never go, this is what we're doing. And that's just the way it is. It's much more natural. So we've got this equipment, we can set this up, and we can kind of test people that use websites to understand how they're thinking and feeling, which is really, really cool. But I think now, rather than take it from being we solve problems, we now take it to we solve users' problems. And I think that helps us really kind of bring it in to a point that keeps it nestled nicely in what we do.
Yeah, and I guess as well, you get that nice... It takes it back to the user, doesn't it? Rather, because it's always a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? How much should you focus on what you want to do versus, or what you want to achieve versus their problems, and that balance. But if you can make their problems your problem, you both win. You're both happy, right? Yeah,
I've got this real, and we will do it. We will do it. I've said it now. But one day we will launch our own product. I don't know what that will be yet, but I'm really interested in the idea of it. And I think that will kind of be our creative outlet in that respect. I think that will be our way where we can go, we're going to launch our own something or other, whatever that's going to be. And that can be our bit where we can make our own problems. We can work on our own problems, rather than kind of helping other people solve their problems. We can solve our own problems. I think that's nice. We do a thing at Space Between as well that we call investment time. And that in itself is another good way of kind of giving your team that creative outlet.
Okay.
So what that is every other week we have a day that we devote purely to research and development, like R&D time. You can do whatever you want as long as you're investing in you.
Yeah.
So if you go, I want to learn a new programming language, that's fantastic. If you go, I want to learn German, that's okay, that's fine. You can do that as well. It's literally just, there's not really any rules. You do what you want to invest in you. And I think that's a really good one. When you get a bunch of people who are naturally problem solvers in a room, that's a good time, because what actually ends up happening, people don't go and learn German. They go and learn things that actually really benefit our customers and benefit us, will benefit us in the future, and most importantly, benefit themselves. So I think that's a nice way for us to be able to say to people, right, in your working day, have this time blocked out for you. Do what you want to do. Yeah. And it just lets people go off and solve these problems.
Yeah, I guess because you're saying about culture, it sounds like the culture is going deep with a problem rather than going broad and going wide.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess sometimes when you go wide, it kind of says you haven't found your channel. You're still moving along the channels, and that's great, but when you find your channel that you slot in, that's where you can really start to delve deep.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, awesome. Right, we've been chatting, we've gone loads over time, we're going to have another break, and we'll be back in a little bit. Welcome back, part 3. So, Luke, we were hearing, weren't we, about your story, your journey with Space Between, and now I guess I want to take it back to our initial kind of conversation around is portfolio king? And I guess from what you were saying, you've been successful, Space Between's been successful because you were very clear from the start what you wanted to do, and then you said as it comes round, you've managed to refine and kind of go deeper with the problem solving and therefore offer a better product. But I guess maybe now speaking to people at different stages of it is that give and take, and how can we do what we want to do in the nicest possible way, while also doing the best possible thing for the client and what they want, and how can we marry them up, I guess, is the question, and then that obviously shows up in our portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was interesting. That's a question I had a lot when we started out as well. I think as probably loads of people do. How do I do what I want that also satisfies people? Right. That's the magic.
That's the dream.
I think one of the best advice. So I've got a few people that I go to for just little different bits of advice, as I'm sure all of us do. The best piece of advice I had from somebody was to kind of dress for the job you want. I don't mean that in the sense of go out there and be like, I can do all these things that I'm not sure I know how to do, but it's kind of advertise yourself in the way that attracts the people you want, because you will do work that you have to do. You will do work that doesn't quite fit in with your mission statement or what you thought you'd do, because that's kind of part of starting out. But what you don't want to do is accidentally build your portfolio in a way that makes it that you just do this. Yeah. If Spaceman just built the types of websites that we didn't want to do, we would end up getting ourselves down this portfolio route, as we were saying, of making it that when people looked at us, they'd go, but you just do that. You've got too far down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So I think that's the balance, I think, between what you show people you've done and sometimes even what you actually are doing. Yeah. So you may be working on stuff that you're not super excited about, it isn't what you want to do. So don't put that on your company website. Yeah. But if you think that brand is exciting, it's a great brand that's going to get you, other people are going to notice it and go, I know them, that's great. That's kind of selling through association. Then kind of do drop them in. Yeah. So I think that was the best piece of advice we got. And at that point, the things we did to kind of get ourselves on that track, we started pricing ourselves differently. We rebranded ourselves. We rebranded our website. We changed our marketing content. All the content on our website went, and we reworded it into focusing more around e-commerce, solving problems, and these kinds of things. So yeah, I think that's probably golden tip number one from the kind of the ages. The only thing I kind of consider on that point is what we would have done if we had got ourselves down that. Right? Yeah. If we'd have done too much down one route, and I think it would have still been a similar answer. I think we would have stripped some off the portfolio. I think we would have kind of held back a little bit. Because I think at the same time, normally what happens when you put a proposal to somebody, you choose what goes on there, right? So who do you pick in those situations? Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. And yeah, this idea of, and you said it at the beginning around taking from one project that wasn't related to maybe another one, but you took the universal stuff or the stuff you wanted to say. And so I guess this kind of leads maybe into the question around, it's tempting, isn't it? Especially when you're starting out to go, oh my God, I need to put everything on, because you are, you're proud of it. And maybe it's not your best work, but it's also this proving to yourself, right? Sometimes, like I remember, years back when I was doing an art website that I was doing just for myself, like personal stuff, and I wanted to put everything on, and then suddenly you realise, oh my God, it looks all over the place, because there's so many different stuff, because it's about exploring, isn't it? Rather than really taking that time to go, what am I trying to say? And selecting the stuff that says that. The message that you want to bring across to people, basically, that actually sums up what you want to do. Yeah. It's interesting. There's a piece there probably around trying to, like, when do you get to the point where actually in your own head you know the bits that you want to, Oh my God, okay, we're definitely having a conversation about that, because that's something that I find fascinating. This idea of being, like, when are we kind of done, as it were, and that's sometimes where it does link in with this conversation around portfolio. This is the presentation of everything I've done, where I'm at now, but of course tomorrow you're going to be improved and evolved and have learnt more, and presenting your best self at that moment in time is instantly out of date, right? Maybe that is the magic in itself, though, of working with those clients, because I think only by doing do we understand what we enjoy, right? If we only did one thing forever, we'd think we enjoy it, we wouldn't know the levels of enjoyment that we may be having. So that might be the magic in that taking everyone on at the beginning, is you get to just throw yourself in there. Who wants me? Who wants to have a go at what I can do? Who wants kind of to understand the services that I can give? And then once you start giving them out, then maybe that's the point where you can really start finding out what you actually like. And as we were saying earlier, the bits that you like are the bits that people are going to like, because they're the bits you're going to be really, really good at. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how do we, I guess this goes back to, like, this whole growth hacking thing, isn't it? Like, try different things, experiment, but maybe to do that, when it comes to experiments, you've got to run, and a proper experiment has measures and controls, and
outputs and you measure how much of this is working or not. How would you measure, for something that's creative, an evolving business, how would you measure, I guess, both the things you like and the things that are working, to be able to know what to strip out and what is the thing in there?
So we did this really recently, actually. And I did it, and it's one of those things, I'm super happy I did it at the end of it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit disappointed I did it when I did it. So we launched this new product, as I was saying about the other day, and I kind of needed people to use it on. I needed to build the portfolio, because it's weird, we're not at the point where we can get away with not having a portfolio. So when we launch something new, people still want to know what we've done. So I called out to a few of my contacts, people that I've known from different companies, current customers, and I said, I'll give it to you for free. Have a go at it, you know, because then there's no shame if it doesn't work. And we did it to this one client, and what we produced was just not very good. It was a first go, right? I'll be completely honest, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, now we've the clients, they're happy, they don't mind. You know, it wasn't anything we produced to their website. It was like a report that we put together for them, and I think, but that taught us so much, so much about how we would do it again next time.
Yeah.
And I think the value there is we did it with someone we already had some trust with. They knew what we could do. They knew it was a trial. They knew that it might help them, it might not. They just kind of okayed us. There's no cost in it for them, so they weren't put off. But the next client was outstanding. Like, I was so proud of the work the guys did on this piece of work, that you just look at it and go, that's so good. And we never, ever would have been able to do that if we didn't do it so brash the first time, because they would have got that one. The paid client would have got the not so good one. So I think that was cool, because we got to add a new person to our portfolio. We got a testimonial for them saying they did this thing. No, they weren't. It wasn't a shining review, but we did it. And it really helped us kind of get in the door with the next one as well, and actually do a job that we were proper proud of.
Yeah.
So definitely. I think release early with everything you're doing. I think get something out there early, because then you get the learnings. Whether it's pick up that client that you're not 100% sure about, they kind of 99% fit in with what you want to do, but there's that 1% different. Like, give it a go, have a go at it, understand if it works, and learn from it, because that's the only thing that will help you grow as an individual, but then also as a business. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a very specific question here, I guess, around that learning.
Yeah.
How should we try and, because this is something I've been looking at myself, should we try and, what's the word, kind of put tangible numbers, quantify the learning, and if so, against what? Because if we're going back to your manifesto, it's learning, is it good, but also is it what we maybe want to be doing? Is there a way to, rather than, oh, they loved it, or excitement, therefore we'll do this, to make learning a bit more solid?
What is it? How do you work out at the end of it, was that learning valuable or not, basically?
Yeah. And what did we learn? So it's both, was it valuable, and what is it?
So I'm a real big fan of no failures. So I like failures, but I don't consider them failures. I consider them kind of learnings. So whenever we have things that go wrong, we do these kind of like assessment meetings. And it's literally, we come together, you know, the person who made the mistake, if we call it that, will be there. We'll have a few other people in the team there, and we'll literally just talk about it as a thing, and kind of talk about what we get out of it. We do it the same with clients. So if we ever do anything wrong, something we're not proud of, the client wasn't happy with, you know, because everyone makes mistakes, when we have those points, we'll still do that same thing. We sit down and we talk through it. And I think there's so much value in that. Because if you fail, that's bad. You know, if you make a mistake, that's bad. It's not great. But it's not that bad. You know, it's not the end of the world. I know people have done worse. I always say this to our team, especially with the junior members of the team, they'll, oh my God, I've done this thing. And I'll go, let me tell you of a time I did something really bad. Or like, you know, like as in like years ago, or whatever it was. Let me tell you of a time I did something much worse. And like, look at how much worse the thing you've done. Now, the most important thing for them is to learn something from it. So how can you not do that again? What can you take away from that will help you not do that again? And I think that's, for all these things, like you're saying, that's the important bit. I would encourage everybody to do that. If you're working on your own, if you're working as part of a group, like, come together whenever there's a mistake. Even if it's write it down yourself on a piece of paper, what happened, what can I do next time? Because really, there's so much value in doing something wrong. If anything, more value than doing it right. We learn quicker, don't we, when we fail at something. And I haven't read it, but it's probably on the wall somewhere up here. There it is. The obstacle is the way. Like, I find that fascinating, because it's something that's gone wrong, or something that's broken down, but it's giving you an opportunity to tell you either something about just generally, you know, what could be better, or going back to this idea of, oh, it didn't work because it wasn't right for our vision or our direction that we want to go in. That's it, because there are times when that happens as well. There are times when it's the relationship between the client doesn't work because of there's a breakdown of something that's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, just as much as clients, I always find it interesting the kind of the tendering process. You go up there and you meet people and you have a conversation, and it's very much like service to agency, sorry, client to agency, client to service. The client is vetting the service or the agency. It's the other way around as well. It needs to be. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like an interview. You know, if we were sitting down and you were interviewing for me for a job, I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me. Because I want to know if I want to work for you as a company. And actually, part of the person who's doing the interview should be selling that company, right? As much as the person who's being the interviewee is selling themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to get that from the beginning. You want to make sure that your clients actually match up with your culture. Because as soon as you get that, there's a level of trust that you just can't get from anything else. And once you've got that, that's when the really good ideas come out.
Yeah, definitely. Exciting stuff. Okay, so if we can, I feel like we covered so much. What would be, if I was to put you on the spot and say if there's any take-home points, whether it's one take-home point or a few that I guess people maybe who are where you were, kind of say a few years back, in that kind of tricky point where their portfolio is starting to pull them on, but maybe not, what would you say to them?
I'd say the manifesto thing. Write a manifesto. Write down a list of what you want it to be. Because I think without that list of where you want to be, even if it's a really, really vague list, it doesn't need to be pages and pages long. That's really good to look back on, and it's really good to kind of look at when you're not 100% sure. I think another one to remember is that your portfolio is what you show people. If you show people your portfolio, but it's your portfolio with half of your clients on, because that's better in that situation. That's absolutely fine as well. Everyone is not always the right people to put into the portfolio. So I'd probably say that they're my two main takeaways for me, if I was to go back and give myself the advice again.
Yeah, really good. Okay, Luke, that's awesome. It's been great chatting. Where can people, you're talking about all this kind of new product, new technology, people are going to go want to check it out. So where can they find out more info about you, Space Between, all the great work that you do? So
I'm on Twitter, just at Luke Frake, easy as anything to find. More importantly though, find Space Between, spacebetween.co.uk. Yep. They're great. I just talk about how great they are, but they are actually great. Come and find us in either of those spots.
Awesome. Luke, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you to Luke for joining me today on today's discussion. Hope you enjoyed that. I think that's a topic that I've been interested in for a little while, being very focused and interested in this idea of values and how we find our route, our focus, what we want to deliver, be it through a business or any kind of project we may be doing. But then also within that, how do we get the balance between what we're looking to achieve? And then also as a service provider, what is it the people we're looking to serve are looking to achieve? And how can we line those two up and get them in better harmony, really? And I loved what Luke was saying about giving it some time and kind of, you've got to be doing the work to find out if it's the sort of work you want to be doing or not, and then taking the learning from it and then being able to evolve. But ultimately always keeping that eye on, is this where I want to be going or not? And kind of trying things, being very open to try things, but also being very quick to look, analyse, take it back to, as he said, to his manifesto to find out if it's the right route for them. So a big thank you to him. Check out the Space Between guys. They're doing some absolutely amazing work, a great kind of young up and coming company. So definitely want to check out. And also a massive thank you to our sponsors, without whom we wouldn't be able to bring you these videos right now. So we have QBH Solutions. These guys provide HR and compliance support, which is no nonsense, makes it super simple, easy to understand, remove all the jargon. We also have Meticulous Media, B2B content providers. They work in a number of different sectors and are real storytelling advocates. They come right in, get under the skin of what your business is all about. We have Bullfish Glass Services. These guys are bespoke glass manufacturers. They're based right here in Folkestone, but they fit out kind of top end, amazing, bespoke interior design and constructions projects that you need some bespoke glass. And we also have GoMonkey, the web app for parents and grandparents to help them get out and about more, to get off that Wi-Fi and get out and enjoy things. Finding something that your kids love beyond playing those addictive social media games. So we've got some great in conversation videos coming up this month from all of those guys. So do check out those on our Facebook page. And if you can, then if you like what you heard today, or maybe some of the other shows, then check out our SoundCloud page. We're The Big Idea Show on that. We're also on YouTube, so subscribe on there and you'll get updates. And hope you enjoyed it. Like us. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. So please comment. Tell us what you enjoy. Tell us what you'd like more of, what maybe less of. And hopefully, we can inspire you to turn your big idea into reality. So thank you very much for watching. See you later.